the things I'd like to talk about is to review your existing power supply proposals and your current wholesale contracts, and then, if you can, reach some conclusions about your future power supply. The last item there is, unfortunately, it's a crunch on time, because NextEra said we'd like to wrap up and by the end of the year, and so we're making this offer to the end of the year. Now, I never like to be pressured on making a decision, and I'm sure you don't either. So, this is something we can decide to do or decide not to do. I did request power supply proposals from 6 suppliers, and that was for the time period. It goes from May 31st of 2023 until, no, let's scratch that, June 1st of 2023 to May 31st of 2030. So that's a long period out in the future to have a firm power supply price. Currently, you have a contract that you're in that goes from June 1 of 17 through May 31st of 2020. That's an excellent power supply contract. Once again, NextEra is supplying that. NextEra supplies only the energy on that particular contract, and then we have capacity purchased from some other suppliers that are outside of Missouri. We'll talk about that a little bit because that's the only, quote, risk element in this whole contract period that we're talking about. The next contract that you already have signed goes from June 1 of 2020 to May 31st of 2023. And in that contract, it has a firm energy cost, and also we have a firm capacity cost. Now, we'll explain what those mean and what the risk is with those. Now, the contract that we went out for proposals on and have bids on goes, like we said, from June 1st of 23 to May 31st of 2030. And once again, as I said, why are we doing this? Because natural gas prices are low for that time period, and that determines the wholesale power market. We received 5 offers from suppliers. We received offers from NextEra, obviously, from the old Dynegy company, which has now been purchased by Vistra. We received offers from American Electric Power in Ohio. We received an offer from MPUA here in Missouri. And another one that I can't think of off the top of my head. The offers that we got are always, on power supply, are always indicative. That's based on what the market is when we ask for the power supply. I've asked them to give us a refresh tomorrow morning. And they will do that. And when you're ready to sign the contract, we'll check the market and get the price. And it hopefully does not vary much from the indicative price, but once again, that's a decision that has to be made on the fly, because what they do is once you say, yeah, we want to buy 10 megawatts or whatever for this time period, they will go out and they will hedge that contract so that they minimize their risk too. The offers that we got, the energy ranged from around $35 per megawatt hour, and there was a cluster of the 5 that were pretty close to $35 megawatt hour. Now the energy that we're talking about is every hour you get, if you have a 100-watt light bulb running for an hour, then you have if you had it for 10 hours, you'd have 1 kilowatt hour, okay? And so that's the energy part. And that's $35 a megawatt hour, which is 3.5 cents per kilowatt hour, which is, the way you deal in the retail business. Now the capacity is like if you have to buy, if you want to travel someplace, you go rent a car, and so you have to pay for renting the car. And then if you put gas in it, that would be the energy. So the capacity is like renting the car, okay? And the offers that we have range from roughly $2.50 per kW month to over $33 a kW month. So there's a big range there on capacity. And the thing that's tricky on capacity is that in the Midwest Independent System Operator, which is MISO, which is the big area of transmission and generation market that we're in, they say that you have to have capacity that is located in your zone. Now your zone is Missouri, which is zone 5. And in the past and presently, there is no excess capacity to buy in zone 5. And so the way you do that is in March each year, everybody has to put the capacity they do have in the pot, and then it's spread out to the people who need capacity. And also, we have purchase capacity now in another region, because when you go into the market, if you don't have capacity going in, then you are charged what's called it's a replacement cost for new capacity, and it's very, very expensive. So you don't want to do that. So we have purchased capacity for this year in Indiana, and in the March auction they will sell that capacity, and then they will divvy up the existing capacity in Missouri, and so we'll have capacity. Now it might cost that. The risk there is if the capacity you sell is less money than the capacity you have to buy. So far that has not been the case. They've been the same, so it's worked out great. But the point being that in the next contract and in this proposed contract, we have firm capacity tied down in Missouri, so there is no risk on capacity. That's an excellent thing for us. The best proposal we had was NextEra, and fundamentally the contract is the same as your current contracts, and it does have Zone 5 capacity. Now, NextEra fell into Zone 5 capacity through some of their other deals, and nobody else has Zone 5 capacity right now for sale. All of the other offers that we had, which were over $3 per kW month, they were all for capacity someplace else outside of Missouri. So that would put you at risk. So, in my opinion, unless their energy price had been really good, they're out of the picture. Okay. All right. Next thing, this shows you where we are. On the left side of the graph, that's millions. One point, the top of the graph is $1.6 million. Those are annual figures. The blue line is the energy portion of your power supply contract, and the orange is the capacity portion. So you can see your capacity is, I'll say 1/10 of the energy cost. And then the brown column is the total of capacity plus energy cost. And the left-hand 3 bars is the current contract that you're in, and you can see that the total cost is a little over $1.4 million. And then the next 3 bars are the next contract for 2020 to 23, and we did an excellent job on the energy. As you can see, it's a little bit cheaper, and so that bar is just a little bit under $1.4 million. In fact, that's the lowest energy price that I've seen in the market for probably 15 or 20 years. So we did a great job there. And so then in the proposed contract is clear over on the right side, and you can see that the energy portion is just a little bit higher than your current cost, and then the total cost is just a smidgen above 1.4 million also. So I'm saying that not very many deals can you get something for the next 10 years or so for the same cost that you got it at now. That's the bottom line that I see from this graph. Any questions about that aspect before I move on? Okay. This graph shows the bottom line is the NextEra energy cost, And then it shows the left-hand side is your current energy cost. Then you dip down, like I said, you got an excellent deal for the third time period for 2000 to 2023. And then the contract that we're talking about is on the right side, and that's still very good, but recognize it's flat for the whole period. It is a firm price. And so it is always good when you go into budget time and say, not only is my next year budget, my energy prices are going to be flat, but for the next 10 years, my energy prices are going to be flat. That's a great thing if you're budgeting. And then up at the top, you'll see I've got a light colored bar up there, and that's the MPUA's bid for power. Now, MPUA is a Missouri Public Utility Association, and we're all owned, I'll say all the municipals are members of that organization. Some of them participate in the power supply that is provided by MPUA. And I always ask them to provide us with a bid, which I have here. Now, the situation is that they're quite high because some other people in your group have capacity in Prairie State. And so they average the whole cost out, and so that's the cost that they came up with. And it's not in the picture, but I wanted to have open access here to the information, and that's the way it is. They are a good group. They have good base load generation, and someday down the road a ways, it will come in to be economical. Today, it is not. That's the bottom line. And so that shows you what their proposal was for 10 years, and what your proposal is the orange line. Any questions about that? The proposed contract is the same as your existing contracts with NextEra for that time period we talked about, and it is a firm price with these exceptions. Your current contract is 4.11 cents per kilowatt hour. That's capacity plus energy, and the proposed contract is 4.15 cents per kilowatt hour. So, as you can see, it's not going to hurt you much in your budget if you take this, and that's a 10-year price, firm. Now, there is one wrinkle in what I said about firm. NextEra said, well, I'm afraid that the government or MISO could change the definition of ancillaries. Now, ancillaries are load following, not load following, voltage management, frequency adjustment, things like that on the generators. And right now that capacity, that cost for ancillaries runs about 2/100 of a cent per kilowatt hour, okay, which is not much. And they said, first of all, they said, we want you guys to eat that. And I said, no, we're not doing that. So we negotiated to a point of saying, okay, let's put a cap on that you will cover any expenses up to 0.05 of a cent, or 50 cents per megawatt hour, okay? And so they agreed to do that. So I would anticipate that we will never see a cost for that, but you can see that 0.05 of a cent compared to the 4.15 or 4.11 cents per kilowatt hour is not a big risk there. That's what I'm trying to say. The dates, as we said, 23 to 30, no MISO auction risk. That's because you have a firm capacity price during this whole time period. And that's a really good thing, in my opinion. That in your current contract, which you have 2 years left in that contract, that's the only risk that I'm always nervous in March when they do through the MISO auction process, that you and 3 other towns that have contracts like this might be at risk. So far, we have not been at risk. We've not been hurt by that. The price has always come out to be the same in adjacent zones as our zone, and so there was no difference in money exchange. But that's not always the case. So anyway, with this contract and your next contract, there will be no capacity auction risk. So, additional considerations, you don't have to worry about Prairie State in this contract because you don't have any. And those who do have, they're not involved in the NextEra contracts. They have to handle those outside of these contracts. MPUA is offered to serve all 4 members for $47.48, including Prairie State, but those like yourselves who do not have Prairie State, I would recommend you don't do that because your price is 42 or whatever I said there, 41 something instead of 47. So you would be subsidizing those other companies. That's not a good thing. So that plan is not going to fly. Thus, I'm recommending that we consider NextEra at this time. And here's where the rub comes. It says, I recommend that you guys approve your chosen representative, which typically is the mayor, or Heather, or your attorney, whoever you choose, to be your designated person to approve a contract, assuming that the price is acceptable, and that means to me the same as the indicative price that's been offered, which is $34.73 per megawatt hour. And the contract is essentially the same as your existing contracts and as the draft that we provided. So I'd be recommending the same thing to the other 3 MMG members. I'll be speaking at Marceline tomorrow night, and they are in favor of doing this. I have talked with Cahokia, and they are in favor of doing this. The only one that's not up to the table yet is Cap City, California, and those of you who work with them, you know they're always very cautious, and they don't make decisions quickly. So they are scheduled for me to meet with them on January the 7th at their council, just like this. And so the NextEra said, okay, we will honor the contract with you 3 if you want to do that. And then California is at risk of price increases on the market if that's what happens in January. So that's where we are. And so my recommendation to you all is to work with your attorney and make sure that the contract is reasonable, and then designate somebody to say, when we get the final price, which should be tomorrow morning, and say, yeah, we want to do that. And the way you would do that is you would notify me and NextEra saying, yes, we are willing to sign this contract, and then they will do a contract for signatures and send it to you all to sign it. So that's where we are. Let's see if I've got anything else. Oh, now I said, what kind of questions might the council have, or what questions should they have? And so I said, okay, what about future load changes? Because this contract says that your maximum capacity, maximum energy that you can take in any 1 hour is 10 megawatts. That's in the contract. Now in the past, I think your maximum has been around 8 megawatts. So you're in good shape there. And if you should exceed the 10 in any 1 hour, that's not the end of the world. You pay whatever the market price is for energy on that hour. Then now, but next year, it impacts the capacity you have to buy because your record is higher. So that's not a significant risk. And next thing is the capacity. Right now it's fixed at 8.2. Now that number will be adjusted and in your contract that we're going to propose. And the reason is because each year NextEra will take your historical peaks and make the calculation and say, okay, for next year, here's a probability that you will not exceed this number. So that capacity number will probably be a little bit lower than the 8.2, which means that the total cost of your power is going to be less than what I showed you on the graph. Okay? And that number will be made available to us tomorrow morning. It'll probably be, well, I don't know, it's going to probably be 7 something, I think. But anyway, so that's the situation on capacity. Ancillary costs now at 2/200ths of a cent, and if it goes to 5/100ths of a cent, then we have to pay whatever the amount is above the 5/100ths. And that the 5/100ths is a cap. And then I know that you guys signed a contract with MPUA for wind energy, which might or might not happen in about 2021. And
that's the Greenbelt
Yeah,
Express.
do you have, that's what I was gonna ask you, is
Yes.
there an update on where Greenbelt stands?
yes, I don't know where they stand. You know, I keep reading in the paper, just probably like you guys do, about the problems they've been having with the transmission line.
Yeah.
So, but I looked at the contract that you have signed with MPUA on that. And the fundamental there that I see is, they say, well, that MPUA will act as the market participant for that energy in MISO, and they will take it to the market, sell it, and you'll get the money, but then you'll pay for whatever.
I mean, so they can't apply that, like, for the zone 5, you know, basically the capacity, not the energy. The city can't utilize the Greenbelt energy that they might be able to receive on that merchant line to assist with their capacity.
Let's talk about capacity and wind energy, okay? Right now, there is no capacity, well, let me say it differently. Wind energy, you can't schedule it, you know, you take it when the wind blows. Therefore, the capacity value is roughly 16% of whatever the maximum capability of the wind unit is, wind unit is. So right now, if you sign up for 1 megawatt, so that'll be, you know, 1600ths of a megawatt, which is minimal.
Very minimal.
So capacity is not really an issue.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm not worried about
And so there was, I mean, if you're talking about zone 5, has Dogwood Energy completely sold all of its capacity? I mean, I know Dogwood sits in Pleasant Hill. Is there no possibility that the city could look at Dogwood as a possible supplier for zone 5 energy?
Where is Dogwood? Is it in Missouri?
Yes, it's in
Yeah.
Pleasant Hill.
No problem with that, except this contract says the next year will be an all requirement supplier on energy.
I just wanted to double check because I didn't know. You said that there weren't any suppliers for zone 5 capacity, so I was just curious if that had been something that had been
Well,
taken into
that's
effect.
energy, and that's not
Or
capacity.
for energy, I mean.
Yeah, yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
That's confusing, yeah.
Well, the last question is that you've got calculations in here for load changes, ancillary caps, and wind energy, but with the clean power plan kind of being rolled back under this current administration, is it possible that energy prices will continue to drop as those regulations are rolled back, and how could the city account for that if there is a significant change? Like if energy prices drop by, like, say 25%, is there any way in this contract that the city can capture that benefit?
Not the way the contract is written. Now, let's talk about what's the probability of that. Okay, right now, coal-fired energy is not economical in the market. And I was involved in building Prairie State, so the energy cost out of Prairie State is around 2 cents per kilowatt hour.
I know it's hard.
Very good, okay. But the capacity cost, you know, just wipes you out. It's because the net cost out of Prairie State these days is around 6 cents. And so this price is 4.15, I guess is what came out to be cents. So what I'm saying is, unless you think that natural gas costs are going to drop significantly from where they are now, long term, I'd say that there's very little chance of energy prices going down in the future. And there's no capacity, like I said, associated with solar, and 16% on wind. So I think a fixed price on energy for the next 10 years is a good thing. That's where I come in.
Just asking, just in case
Yeah,
for some reason,
it's a good
energy
question.
prices were to drop, is there any way we could renegotiate if we're locked in at this and, where it drops, I don't know, $5, $10? I mean, is there any way for the city to capture that? I mean, I know that's probably way out there in right field, but I thought I would at least ask, because it is a long-term contract.
It is, and there are some clauses in the contract about fairness and changes in law and some things like that. So you can go back, arbitration, that's one thing, and, or negotiation. But as far as saying, okay, if the price drops, in the market drops 10 cents, will we get advantage of that? And the answer is no.
So you said natural gas is a primary contributor to the cost here.
Yes,
Futures for natural gas have it dropping below $3, and right now it's about $3.60.
about
$3.60 for natural gas.
$3.50, yeah.
$3.50, $3.60, depending on what number you're looking at. The futures show out 2023 to 2030 dropping below $3. So I mean, is there any way that if the market changes over X%, we're protected?
Not this contract, not the way it is.
Is there any way to propose that if the price were to drop 25% below what is currently offered to the city, we would have the option to at least open the contract back up? I mean, I know 25% would be a significant drop. I mean, some protection in there for the city, just in case those futures really do drop. Is that a possibility of asking that? Have you seen that in contracts before?
No, I mean, yeah, we can ask them, but I
Right.
have not seen anything like that in contracts. Because this is a firm price, that they're willing to take the risk on it, and, against the high side. Right now, see, I have not looked at the long-term futures for 2 or 3 months, so it looked like it's around $3 from now on out. So
And
that's
it's running 350 to 360 right now. If we're gonna drop, if we say 360, drop to $3, that's what, 15,
Yeah, that's
18%, something
pretty
like
good
that. That's a
percent.
significant chunk.
Yeah, yeah, well, of course, they look at that stuff all the time, so that was the basis of their bid, whatever the futures were.
I think our prices will hold flat then now that
Well, the price that you're getting is flat from your current price.
Right, right.
Yes,
On the
sir.
same note though, if the prices skyrocket and this go out of hand, we're locked in for 10 years.
Yes, sir.
Right,
And they can't squeeze out of their contract, no way,
right.
no way, because they're the power, okay.
Yeah,
So,
and next year is, in the bond market, they're AAA rated, they're very stable. Yeah.
I would assume that they are well aware of what the futures market is too, and that's part of what's built into this.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and,
so.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for a long time, and I put the squeeze on them every chance I can. It doesn't mean anything to me from my standpoint, other than I try to do the best job I can for your consumers. That's the
Right.
bottom line.
And our previous long-term contract that we had was pretty pretty good. We were locked in for a long time, and that benefited us a whole bunch. So I'm inclined to recommend that we go ahead and approve
we don't want any risk.
this. Yeah. I mean, there's gonna be risk regardless, one way or another.
Yeah, there's a risk, but we don't want,
You know,
This agreement is risk averse actually, so it
Mhm.
protects us, it locks in. We've already got traditionally low rates,
yeah.
when we compare around, so I mean, it's a risk aversion strategy.
Yeah.
Which I'm not necessarily opposed to, I was just curious, and
Yeah.
same question that Susan had. it's just-
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
I do have a question. You
Sure.
had mentioned that we don't have any prairie state. Is that because we don't use the portion that we own of prairie state?
Oh.
Or,
Do you guys have, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
My mistake.
I think we have just a small portion, but
Yeah, you do.
we don't use that.
Yeah.
We sell that on the open market,
You do.
so.
Right.
You do, and, that's my mistake. And, when I came over tonight, before I came over, my wife said, what sweater are you gonna wear? She said, how about this nice blue one? Has this little Prairie State symbol on it. I said, I don't wanna stir up any controversy tonight. So I said, I'll wear this one. But, so I'm sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Yeah, we do have a very small portion.
That's
of
right, you have,
state, so.
yeah, you have 2 megawatts of it, yeah. And, I did work with the city of Marceline, to get out of their share of that contract. I negotiated with Duncan Kinslow, who's
Mhm.
the CEO of the MPUA.
Yeah.
And, their load is, 8 megawatts, and 4 megawatts is what they had in Prairie State. And it was just way too much, it was gonna bankrupt them. That's the
Yeah.
bottom line. So that's why I went in and negotiated for them with MPUA, because I worked with MPUA for a long time. Duncan and I were on the board of directors when we built Prairie State.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a bad thing, but they just took too much, that's all. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and Cahokia also has 2 megawatts.
Okay, that's not gonna affect this.
No,
contract at
it has
all.
no effect on this, and 2 megawatts is not too much for you guys, you know.
Right.
It,
But we'll still continue to sell that, I would assume, since.
Yes, they'll continue to sell that in the market.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Nope, thank you very much. We have to have this signed before the 30th, the 31st, 31st
I
of
think they're
December.
wanting it by Wednesday.
Yeah, they will, they're gonna get the price to you, and then,
Okay.
immediately the, what do we call it, the final contracts for signature. So, yeah, they would like to do it this week.
Okay.
And the point is, somebody else is after this capacity that they have.
Okay.
And, so, I've been saying, guys, we're gonna do this, I tell them, you know, hang on to that, because that is a great risk aversion factor.
Right.
That's called thing capacity.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
thank you
Thank
guys.
you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, appreciate it.
you coming in tonight.
Oh, yeah, I'll go home tonight, yeah.
All right.
I'll get out of here and not tell you guys anymore, if you'll unblock me right there. The orange one, yeah. Thank you. I'll talk to Heather tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you, Bob.
All right. Next is the certification of election results. It's in your packet, it's on page 28.
Maybe just need a motion.
Motion with roll call vote for certified election.
I move that we certify the election results.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please. Tara?
Alderman Magley,
Yeah.
Alderman Rogers,
Yes.
Alderman Borman,
Yes.
Alderman Hudson,
Yes.
Alderman Lee.
Yes.
All right. Election results certified. The city 1.5 cent to 1% sales tax for public safety was passed. Action agenda, finance, authorizing the mayor to execute a real estate purchase and sales agreement. This resolution requires one reading. Let's talk about this.
I think everybody is aware.
Everybody aware of it? Okay. Alderman Magley, would you introduce this, please?
Bill number,
2261.
move bill number 2261 be given its first reading by title only.
I have a motion second that bill number 2261 be given its first and only reading by title only. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Continue, please.
A resolution authorizing the mayor of Centralia to execute a real estate purchase and sales agreement between the city of Centralia and the Douglas Family Trust. I move that bill number 2261 be moved, adopted by roll call vote.
Have a motion and second that bill number 2261 be adopted by roll call vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Roll call vote, please, Terry.
Alderman Borman,
Yes.
Alderman Hudson,
Yes.
Alderman Lee,
Yes.
Alderman Magley,
Yes.
Alderman Rogers.
For,
All right, by your vote, bill number 2261 passes, now becomes resolution number
18-22.
R-18-12. Okay,
Is it dash 12?
yes.
Huh?
You got it. Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you.
See.
Have a good evening.
did you,
Take care, Lynn. Bye.
All right. Authorizing the assurance of a combined waterworks and sewage system revenue bond, series 2018 of the city of Centralia, Missouri, in the approximate principal amount of $755,000. This is in accordance, requires 2 readings. And this is one we've been talking about for a while also.
It is. And we have Steve Smith in here for City Bank, and then we also have Matthew Ford with Piper Jaffrey. So if you have questions.
Do we have any questions with this one?
I assume everything's set up and okay?
It's ready to go.
Very good. Alderman Lee, would you introduce this one, please?
Bill number,
2262.
I move that bill number 2262 be given its first reading by title only.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that bill number 2262 be given its first reading by title only. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Continue, please.
An ordinance authorizing the issuance of a combined waterworks and sewerage system revenue bond, series 2018 of the city of Centralia, Missouri, in the principal amount of $755,000, prescribing the form and the details of said bond and the covenants and agreements to provide for the payment and the security thereof, and authorizing certain actions and documents and prescribing other matters related thereto. I move that bill number 2262 be given its second reading by title only.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that bill number 2262 be given its second reading by title only. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Continue, please.
An ordinance authorizing the issuance of a combined waterworks and sewerage system revenue bond, series 2018 of the city of Centralia, Missouri, in the principal amount of $755,000, prescribing the form and the details of said bond and the covenants and agreements to provide for the payment and the security thereof, and authorizing certain actions and documents and prescribing other matters relating thereto. I move that bill number 2262 be adopted by roll call vote.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that bill number 2262 be adopted by roll call vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Roll call vote, please, Tara.
Alderman Hudson,
Yes.
Alderman Lee,
Yes.
Alderman Magley,
Yeah.
Alderman Borman,
Yes.
Alderman Rogers.
for,
By your vote, bill number 2262 passes and now becomes ordinance number.
2990.
Thank you.
Privilege to serve, thank you.
Thank you very much. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Steve Kemper. I'm from Centralia, and I love this community more than you know, and I hope to have the opportunity to be able to serve the city again in banking, insurance, whatever type of relations. And I appreciate the opportunity, and Heather just called me up, and I'm like, I'm on it. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you, Steve. All right. Next, authorizing the city of Centralia, Missouri to enter into a lease purchase transaction with Central Bank of Boone County in order to provide funds to reimburse the city's cost of acquiring certain real estate property for parks purposes and to finance other certain parks-related improvements. This is also an ordinance requires 2 readings.
Page 97.
Okay. All right. Alderman Hudson, would you introduce us to?
Bill number?
2263.
Move that bill number 2263 be given its first reading by title only.
I have a motion and a second that bill number 2263 be given its first reading by title only. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Continue, please.
An ordinance authorizing the city of Centralia, Missouri to enter into a lease purchase transaction with Central Bank of Boone County as lessor in order to provide funds to reimburse the city for cost of acquiring certain real property and to finance certain park-related improvements and to approve the execution of certain agreements and documents in connection therewith. Move that bill number 2263 be given its second reading by title only.
Second. I have a motion and a second that bill number 2263 be given its second reading by title only. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Continue, please.
An ordinance authorizing the city of Centralia, Missouri to enter into a lease purchase transaction with Central Bank of Boone County as lessor in order to provide funds to reimburse the city for costs of acquiring certain real property and to finance certain park-related improvements and to approve the execution of certain agreements and documents in connection therewith. Move that bill number 2263 be adopted by roll call vote.
Second. I have a motion and a second that bill number 2263 be adopted by roll call vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Roll call vote, please, Karen.
Alderman Magley.
Yeah.
Alderman Rogers.
Four.
Alderman Borman.
Yes.
Alderman Hudson.
Yes.
Alderman Lee.
All right, by your vote, bill number 2263 passes, now becomes ordinance number
2991.
permits and licensing, and schedules, that still the same? Thank you, legal. Calling April 2nd, 2019 municipal election, this ordinance requires 2 readings. Alderman Rogers, would you introduce us, please?
Just fine.
Bill number?
2264.
Move that bill number 2264 be given its first reading by title only.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that bill number 2264 be given its first reading by title only. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Continue, please.
Bill number 2264, an ordinance calling for a general city election to be held on Tuesday, April 2nd, 2019, municipal election day to elect the mayor for a 2-year term, to elect 3 aldermen for a 2-year term, and to elect the city collector for a 2-year term. Move that bill number 2264 be given its second reading by title only.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that bill number 2264 be given its second reading by title only. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Continue, please.
Move that bill number 2264, an ordinance calling for a general city election to be held on Tuesday, April 2nd, 2019, municipal election day to elect the mayor for a 2-year term, to elect 3 aldermen for a 2-year term, and to elect the city collector for a 2-year term. Move that bill number 2264 be adopted by roll call vote.
Second.
I have a motion, and a second, that bill number 2264 be adopted by a roll call vote. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Lee.
Yes.
Alderman Hudson.
Yes.
Alderman Borman.
Yes.
Alderman Rogers.
4.
Alderman Magley.
Yep.
All right, thank you very much. By your vote, bill number 2264 passes, and now becomes ordinance number
2992.
Next is authorizing the chief of police and the mayor of Centralia, Missouri to execute a memorandum of understanding with East Central Drug Task Force. This is an ordinance that requires 2 readings. We've talked about this before. Any questions?
Thought there was a question last week about where the money was going.
Well, we won't have to actually pay the fee until July, so we're essentially getting about 5 months free, but, or I guess 7 months free. And then it'll come out of the police department's budget, more than likely, public safety sales tax money.
Yeah.
Are we gonna be a member or
Will we?
cooperating member?
We'll be a member. Yeah.
Have we ever done this before? This is the first?
Yeah.
We have? We
2004.
Yeah. I think in 2007 is when we pulled out of it or something, I think.
Yes.
Just why did we quit?
It's a decision.
Previous administration's decision.
All right, Alderman Borman, would you introduce this one, please?
Sure, bill number, please.
2265.
I move that bill number 2265 be given its first reading by title only.
Second.
I have a motion, and a second, that bill number 2265 be given its first reading by title only. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Continue, please.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor and the city, the chief of police of the city of Centralia, Missouri to execute a memorandum of understanding providing for membership and participation of the city of Centralia, Missouri in the East Central Drug Task Force. I move that bill number 2265 be given a second reading by title only.
Second.
I have a motion, and a second, that bill number 2265 be given a second reading by title only. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Continue, please.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor and the chief of police of the city of Centralia, Missouri to execute a memorandum of understanding providing for membership and participation of the city of Centralia, Missouri in the East Central Drug Task Force. I move that bill number 2265 be adopted by roll call vote.
Second.
I have a motion, and a second, that bill number 2265 be adopted by roll call vote. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Roll call vote, please, start.
Alderman Lee.
Yes.
Alderman Hudson.
Yes.
Alderman Magley.
Yep.
Alderman Rogers.
4.
Alderman Borman.
Yes.
All right, by your vote, bill number 2265 passes, now becomes ordinance number
2993.
Number C3, amending sections 18-25.1 of Centralia City Code regarding golf carts and UTVs on city streets. See the ordinance, and we've been talking about this for a while. Anybody have any questions?
What is the modification specifically?
If you take a look at the way the ordinance is written, anything that is bold and underlined is the addition to the ordinance. Anything that is struck through is removing from your current ordinance. So that's how you can track, or that's how you can tell what's being changed. So there's a significant set of additions to the prior ordinance.
Okay.
So everything was bold, it was added to this.
Bold and underlined, correct, yes.
There needs to be one correction made. Third whereas Centralia must amend the city code to allow.
Oh, the two, we
Yeah.
have the words here.
And then there were some amendments from the agenda. Was there any change from the file that was posted a couple days ago versus the one today?
No, but I did receive your email and we looked at that.
So we took a look at it, so about the licensed operator, so actually each licensed operator needs to be they'll be certified on a vehicle, but I see where your concern is about under the section that says the licensed operator has passed an inspection. Generally, the person bringing it up, and each person needs to basically go through the process. You may have one permit, but if you have multiple licensed operators, that originally the way this was intended and the way the statute contemplates. So it's not specific to the vehicle itself, it is specific to the licensed operator.
So I have 4 licensed drivers in my home and we'll have 5.
You're not gonna pay the license 4 times, but they need to come up and at least register with the department that they are going to be licensed operators on the UTV or the ATV, correct? You'll have one single permit on the vehicle, so you'll have one attached permit, but they need to at least provide listings with the police department that they will be operating the vehicle.
So
We can always
we're back
change
to
it.
that authorized user thing that I thought we said we weren't gonna do an authorized
Yeah.
user list when we talked about this
Yeah.
2 months ago or so.
I thought we were
I
getting
was
away
like-
from that too.
Yeah.
Because I use the example, what about when my father comes in town and he's here for a week and uses it while I'm at work? He wouldn't be an authorized user.
Yeah, I don't know if you would.
I don't think, I apologize, I don't think I was at that meeting, so I guess I didn't get that information passed to me. And like I said, this language, this actual bolded language actually comes directly from the statute that authorizes the altering vehicles to operate on municipal streets. So that is the language that they actually use.
That's from the state statute.
Correct, yes.
But I think it's kind of silly to have every person that's going to be driving, they get a separate permit.
No, they don't need to get a
Or
separate.
be,
They'll
go
be
through
on
this
list,
process,
basically, yeah.
be on this list, because, I mean, if they're a licensed driver, that's what we're trying to get at, is you've gotta be a licensed
You have to be
driver.
a licensed driver.
So I wouldn't be able to go over to Alderman Hudson's house and drive his golf cart. Even though
Unless
I'm
you-
a licensed driver, unless I go have him put my name on that list.
And I'm just gonna tell you, like, one of the requirements in this is that you have to have insurance on the vehicle. So you have to list every operator of that vehicle on the insurance. So when the police department keeps track of who's actually operating that particular vehicle, it tracks insurance. So hopefully, even if you go and register, if you want to list all of the potential licensed operators on an application, you can certainly do so at that time. So we can clarify it so that it means, you know, each person doesn't have to come in. We can make it a little clearer in the ordinance that, look, you need to list out all potential licensed operators that you want to have access to that particular vehicle. Is that what you're kind of contemplating?
Well, that's still a little bit cumbersome, because I can let somebody else drive my vehicle, and that's not a problem. So why is it a problem for somebody else to drive, if I go over and borrow his Gator, why, or his, golf cart, why should I have to be listed on his insurance if I don't, he doesn't have to be listed on my insurance to drive my car?
It's because that's the way automobile insurance has been set up. That is not the same way that UTV all-terrain vehicles have actually set up. So like when you have a side-by-side, it is specific to the licensed drivers that you list, like with Geico or American Family. The statute that allows basically guest operators in a motor vehicle have not extended to these off-road vehicles.
Okay.
So that's not anything I've done, that's just the way insurance regulation does it. You're supposed to list every single licensed operator that will use that particular vehicle.
Kind of stupid, but I,
And-
this is what the state law says.
For a lot of insurances, if you have a driver that is not authorized to drive your particular vehicles for whatever reason, they have to sign saying, hey, I won't drive your vehicle with the insurance company.
Yeah, and usually if you
And-
cause a wreck, like if I cause a wreck and your vehicle goes on my insurance, if I have my own insurance, it won't necessarily go on yours. It'll be done through subrogation, and I know that's not something you see on the surface, but it will actually go against my insurance, not yours. So, but the same way, unfortunately, the prevalence of these vehicles is not caught up to the insurance law. They were originally anticipated for like farming operations, or a lot of them were not meant to be driven on the streets, and now they're getting to there. So just the law unfortunately just has not caught up with it. So you're supposed to list all licensed drivers in these vehicles at the time.
Okay, I do have another question.
Yes.
Down there under, let me see, B, section 1B, there's a definition. It says recreational off-highway vehicle shall mean any vehicle manufactured exclusively for off-highway use, et cetera, et cetera. And it is under a certain weight, and it's gotta be something that, let's see.
Where are you at now?
Where are you at?
Underline part, section B of
B?
Yes.
Oh.
Somewhere or other in there, it says that this is something that you have to straddle. But what about gators and mules?
The all-terrain vehicle is a straddle, where the recreational off-highway vehicle
If not,
is not.
I was, again, this comes directly from the language in the state statute.
Yeah, well, I questioned it last night, as what's the difference, and I was reading through it, and I noticed the straddle.
right. And that's why I was wondering, because I know this was intended for more than one, but I wasn't quite, where I read it, it's like, well, now wait a minute, what about the other? And how, golf carts are mentioned in here, they're not an all-terrain vehicle, they're under a different state statute.
But they're mentioned in section 5
Right.
as needing to be.
So how does that fit with the existing law on golf carts?
I did not touch your golf cart ordinance at all. You will still have your current golf cart ordinance, that still exists as it currently stands right now today.
Within
This
this
does not, and is not intended to alter that. So
Okay.
your golf cart ordinance stands unamended
And
as
that's
it
but
currently
this-
is.
Within this ordinance,
It
right?
may mention it, but it's actually
Okay.
separate, it's in a separate section of
Okay.
this ordinance, so
Right.
that's not
The
touched.
section 5 here talks about or golf carts, and that's where we get into all the licensing of operators. and all that
Right,
stuff.
because we do not require the licensing for the golf carts now, this is adding the
And
licensing
it seemed
requirement.
kind of weird that one section was applied to it. I read through it twice last night trying to.
Right, well, in this section, I mean, I could have completely, I mean, if this was the easiest way for me to capture that $15 fee and all the requirements for the golf carts, was to put it in here and to mention golf carts in particular here, instead of taking it out and actually adding a different section to the golf cart ordinance as well, which would have required a separate section of rewriting. It just seemed to fit with the flow of the ordinances, because we were talking about licensing and inspections and insurance, just to put it in this
Okay.
section.
Well, I don't have any problem with that. My question is, this requires insurance for these vehicles,
Correct.
but golf carts do not require insurance.
Yes, it does.
Yes,
Yes,
it
it-
is.
yes, it
I was like, if they're operating on a city
does.
street, it has to have insurance.
Our current ordinance requires insurance for
Yeah.
It
golf
does?
carts.
Yes.
I thought it said it only was required if they have insurance.
Nope.
No.
No.
Okay,
it-
that's fine.
Yeah.
They only have to have seatbelts if they're.
Only have to have a seatbelt. I knew there was something in there.
Is there any place in here that the off-road vehicles have to obey by the city of Centralia law, like the speeding and all that?
It says any subject vehicle operated on a street or highway pursuant to an exception shall be insured by state law.
'Cause I mean, some of these things can go 50, 60, or 70 miles
Oh,
an hour.
Yeah, I
they
think
can
there
go
was-
well over 100.
Oh,
Some
Yeah,
of them.
there was a section in here
Yeah,
that
there
said 30
is.
miles an hour is the max.
Right,
And
on
other
5
ends of
feet.
the same.
They have to obey,
yes, 5B,
where were you
Yeah.
at?
5B.
And the vehicle shall be operated at speeds of less than 30 miles per hour.
Okay. Now, golf carts are prohibited from going on roads that have speed limits of more than 30 miles per hour, I believe, 30 or
State
35.
route, yeah, state
So
route.
state routes. These vehicles are allowed on state routes?
Absolutely. They can if the county permits it and or your city permits it. So yes, they can, because a lot of them are, I mean, help me out here. These things are literally, they're like, they're cars absent the actual body. I mean, they can do just about anything that your car can do.
Mhm.
Yes.
I mean, that's,
I can tell you that the county will not allow.
you know.
County law.
Okay, but so they can be out here on 124 where it's in the city limits?
They can
And
cross the
22?
road. That's where your golf carts are not supposed to cross. I believe.
No, golf carts
Yeah,
can
you-
cross, they
you can
cannot
cross,
run
they
on.
can't traverse.
We can cross to Orshlands, but we can't cross to the gravel roads that way, because that's a 60-mile-an-hour speed limit. So they're, if I read it correctly, because I think it's like a 40 or 45.
It's 55 out there.
But you can cross a 40-mile-an-hour, but you can't cross a 50 or 60-mile-an-hour in a golf cart.
And and in a golf cart, you cannot be on a street where the speed limit is greater than, I think, 35.
35. Greater than 35 miles an hour.
But that's not a prohibition on these because they can go faster, I think.
That'd be correct.
Okay.
So do we want to,
I think we should table this till we get
Table this
everything
to-
figured
yeah.
out.
Table
What
this till.
do you, yeah, what do you need?
I mean, I don't know, everybody's, asking all kinds of questions.
I think they're just clarifying what's
Everything's been
in there.
answered though.
Yeah.
I
It
think
has been.
everything's been answered.
I would like to table it too, just for a month, so I can, because honestly, I didn't get this deep into my packet yesterday or the day before. So I haven't had a chance to even read it, and I don't wanna read it rapidly.
Okay.
And the other suggestion I might add is that I can send you the sections of the statute that talk about this. Because the statute breaks it out by golf cart, ATV, UTV. Literally, every time there has been one of these new type of vehicles that aren't cars or dune buggies or whatever, they have added a different section of statute that isn't necessarily always consistent with the previous section of statute that they passed. Like, you still have to have a flag on an or, you know, on an actual old four-wheeler or three-wheeler. You don't have to have a flag on a side-by-side, but yet now, most of these things are capable of almost doing the same identical thing as each other. So it may be helpful if I also circulate, or at least point out which sections of statute govern this, so that you can go take a look at some of this convoluted language yourself, if that's helpful, because instead of recreating the wheel, I literally pick it out of statute and put it into here, because it spells it out relatively clearly, exactly the stuff you have to put in. So would that be helpful?
It would.
Yeah, I recommend we table this until January. You wanna move that?
I do.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to table this ordinance until our January meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Do you want this back for discussion on January 14th, and then the ordinance
I think
back
that
for
would be-
passage
yeah.
on the 21st?
I mean, I still have a problem with having to write a list. I understand what you're saying, I hear you. I mean, it sounds like overreaching big government is what it sounds like.
I suspect it's, they didn't bother to look at what was there before they created something new.
I would agree with his assessment, I honestly do. I
Yeah.
mean, because they've just been throwing the stuff at statute without really looking back at what they've already got.
All right.
You'll see the same thing in other ordinances. There's 4 or 5 ordinances concerning planning and zoning, and how you get into planning and zoning, and it's like, why are there so many different ways of doing it?
All right, number C4. Authorizing the mayor to enter into telecommunications service contracts with Socket Telecommunications LLC to switch phone service at City Hall, administration, and the police department. This is ordinance requires 2 readings.
We're still not ready to move forward with switching at the other departments. We're still looking at some things. So if we get to that point, we'll let you know, but we would like to switch for City Hall and police department. We think we could save about $1,200 a year, if not more than that.
So you ready to move forward with this one?
We'd like to,
This
yes.
ordinance tonight?
Alderman Magley, would you introduce this one, please?
Bill number
2266.
Move that bill number 2266 be given its first reading by title only.
Second.
I have a motion and a second that bill number 2266 be given its first reading by title only. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Continue, please.
The bill to create an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor of the city of Centralia, Missouri to execute agreement with Socket Telecom LLC for phone service. Move that bill number 2266 be given its second reading by title only.
I have a motion and a second that bill number 2266 be given its second reading by title only. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Continue, please.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor of the city of Centralia, Missouri to execute an agreement with Socket Telecom LLC for phone service. Move that bill number 2266 be adopted by roll call vote.
I have a motion and a second that bill number 2266 be adopted by a roll call vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Roll call vote, Ms. Carter.
Alderman Lee.
Yes.
Alderman,
Yes.
Alderman Borman.
Yes.
Alderman Rogers.
For.
Alderman Magley.
Yeah.
All right, by your vote, bill number 2266 passes and now becomes ordinance number
2994.
All right, purchasing. Approving the pay application to Donaldson Excavation. This requires a motion.
And this is the entire amount. I mean, it didn't change from what there was.
Yes, this would be the first and final
pay application for the project at the Maze Meadow, stormwater improvements. It was a good project, good contractor. Everything was done planned.
So is everything done now, is the asphalt in?
The asphalt wasn't part of this project,
It is not.
but yeah, it is not completed.
This requires motion to.
Move that we pay Donaldson Excavating, $102,562.
I have a motion second to approve the payment to Donaldson in the amount of $102,562. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you.
I brought these cookies for more than just decorations. If anybody would like them.
Thank you very much. Work, Liddy. All right, authorizing the mayor to sign change order number 1 with ESP. Is the motion?
The change order is at it's the very last page of all the information from ESP. It's just refunding $3,013 out of the contingency fund to the city. Just need a motion to approve that.
So we're getting money back, huh?
Yep.
This is good. Rain, this.
I move we accept the change order with number 1 with ESP.
Second.
I have a motion second to accept change order number 1 with ESP. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
That will spend it.
Okay. Authorizing the mayor of the city of Centralia, Missouri to enter into a full requirements purchase power
We
agreement.
got one before that.
Oh.
There's the
Declaring-
memo in your packet.
Declaring park playground equipment as surplus property.
This is the Brown playground equipment that's over by Southfield. That's part of the capital improvement projects. They're going to get rid of the Brown and put something else in there. Just need to declare it as surplus property so that we can sell it.
So moved.
By close seal bids.
Second.
I have a motion second to declare park playground equipment as surplus property as described. All those in favor say aye.
We'll get rid of the brown and then get something that's green.
Hopefully. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe just another brown piece.
Yeah, all right. Now, authorizing the mayor of the city of Centralia, Missouri to enter into full requirements purchase power agreement with Nexera Power Marketing of Juno Beach, Florida. In the amount of 34.73 megawatt hour for energy and $2.40 per kilowatt hour per month for capacity for the term of 1 June 2020 to May 31st of 2023.
Now that is, on the agenda it's written wrong, and the ordinance is written correctly, and this is actually the contract for June 1st, 2023 through May
Oh.
31st, 2030. That was correct in the packet.
Okay, thank you. And this is the one we're gonna get the exact dollar figure tomorrow morning?
Yes.
We need to pass it tonight with that.
He expected to, is it okay to pass it with?
I think he was expecting you guys to pass it tonight.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it doesn't time state
Well,
thing
he's-
until
he's
we
gonna-
get that contract in there.
Yeah. Yeah, he's gonna call tomorrow, hope if the price is lower, you'll get locked in at the lower rate, but he doesn't anticipate it being lower. So this is the rate that they're giving you, but if they get a lower
This
price
is the
tomorrow,
max rate, if this,
yeah, it'll go down.
Yeah.
futures for tomorrow are 361, so it's moving up, on natural gas, so.
Okay.
Sorry, I pulled up the numbers all here, it's not the first time I've looked at natural gas.
No, well, thank you very much.
Alderman, would you introduce this one, please?
Let me read it like it's in the packet.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Bill number,
2267.
I move the bill number 2267 be given its first read by title only.
Second.
I have a motion, a second, that bill number 2263 be given its first reading by title only. 2267, sorry. That didn't sound right. I have a motion, a second, that bill number 2267 be given its first reading by title only. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Centralia, Missouri to enter into an electric service full requirements agreement with NextEra Energy Power Marketing LLC of Juno Beach, Florida, starting June 21st, 2023 and ending May 31st, 2030. I move that bill number 2267 be given its second reading by title only.
Second.
I have a motion, a second, that bill number 2267 be given its second reading by title only. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Continue, please.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Centralia, Missouri to enter into an electric service full requirements agreement with NextEra Energy Power Marketing LLC of Juno Beach, Florida, starting June 31st, 2023 and ending May 31st, 2030. I move that bill number 2267 be adopted by roll call vote.
Second.
I have a motion, a second, that bill number 2267 be adopted by a roll call vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Roll call vote, please, Terry.
Alderman Rogers,
Four.
Alderman Magley,
Yep.
Alderman Borman,
Yes.
Alderman Hudson,
Yes.
Alderman Lee.
Yes.
All right. By your vote, bill number 2267 passes, now becomes ordinance number.
2995.
Thank you. Any old business? All right, new business. Request from the owners of the Glossy Goat to block parking spaces in front of their business for a pop-up boutique. Would you like to discuss this one, Heather?
We received a request from Christy Deckard, one of the three owners of the Glossy Goat, and they would like to have a pop-up boutique. They actually have a trailer that's completely set up. They said it looks really cute, has a porch on the front. They just want to park it in front of their building, in front of the Glossy Goat building. It's called Moonshine and Lace, is the name of the boutique. Just on a Saturday afternoon. They said they would take up just the parking spots in front of their building. They're willing to give those up, but it does need board approval because they are public parking spaces. So,
Was this like forever?
oh no, just for a day.
Just for one day?
Just for an afternoon, you know, just like for a Saturday.
Oh,
And they would like it to be this coming Saturday if they can get the approval and get enough advertisement and get the girls here.
And then they say that they would buy their own business.
They would have to get a business license.
Yeah.
It'd be $37.50 for the business. Since they are a retail business, this is not somebody that makes their own products and sells their own things, so they would be required to get their own business license. And with the short notice, they may not do this, so if you do approve it, you may, I don't know if we can consider approving it for another Saturday date, if this date does not work out for them, because it is coming up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So they would need a motion.
30 feet would stretch beyond the front of their business, wouldn't it?
I wonder that, but she said she didn't think so.
Well, maybe that alley where the trash dumpster is. maybe part
Well,
of
there's not an alley, but there's a gap
it.
between
The
buildings.
gap
on
between
other
the
side.
buildings, yeah.
It would, I'm pretty sure the building is not quite 30 feet. It's probably 25 at most, it may be 20.
Yeah, that's what I was, would be,
Yeah.
it went towards
On
the
the other
dental
hand,
office, it wouldn't be
The
as big.
the dentist office is not open that day, so.
Right.
Right.
And they would, not like you'd be blocking the front of their business anyways, if you
Right.
Right.
that direction.
I make a motion, we approve it.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the Glossy Goats request. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Appointments. Three appointments, I think I talked about Andrew Power last week. I did talk to Danny, and he's okay with appointing Andrew Power to the Centralia Fire Department.
This would be pending the result of the pre-employment physical and drug
Yes.
screen. He is already set up for that, but he has
Okay.
not done that yet.
Okay. So we need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept the mayor's appointment of Andrew Power to the Centralia Fire Department, pending passing the physical. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Next one is Logan Fager as a part-time police officer. I think he's been here before, so. Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Logan Fair, as I said. I worked here for a year and a half. I left to go to Mexico Public Safety. I decided to come back. I enjoy working for Centralia. It's not my hometown, but when I'm here, it does feel like it is my hometown, so I'm very happy to be back and be here.
All right.
Move to accept the appointment for Logan Figure.
Fair, either way, either way.
All right. I have a motion and a second to accept the mayor's appointment of Logan Fager to the Centralia Police Department as a part-time officer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thanks for your service.
We will swear you in.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. I, Logan Fager, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
That I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Missouri
and the Constitution of the State of Missouri
and the ordinances of the City of Centralia,
and the ordinances of the State of Centralia.
and that I will faithfully demean myself
And I will faithfully demean myself
in the office of part-time police officer
in the status of part-time police officer
of said city to the best of my ability,
for the city of the best of my ability,
according to law, so help me God.
according to the laws of God.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard. And final appointment this evening will be Catherine Buttram, who will be appointed to the library board to complete the term of Jerry Dollins, who's resigned. So, I believe that would end in 2020.
That could be short.
I don't remember.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept the mayor's appointment of Catherine Buttram to the library board to complete the term of Jerry Dollins. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. City administrator.
Reports in your packet. Monthly report for November. Any questions, let me know. Also, the monthly, or the quarterly MML meeting will be in Columbia on January 16th. So if anyone is interested in going, please let me know, and we'll get you registered.
You have not been to one of those yet? I recommend it. This one is Columbia. It's,
During the day or is it?
it's in the evening. Starts at 6. Six o'clock, there's kind of a social hour, and then 6:30, 7 o'clock, we start the meeting. And then, there's a little presentation afterwards. So. Yeah. Yeah. So.
I gotta look at my calendar. When I saw it, I thought it was during the day and
No, it's in the
You're
evening.
not from work, it's not always the most convenient
It's
thing.
Right.
6 p.m.
Okay. City attorney, do anything?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't know, I'm gonna let you know.
Did
Anybody else
you have anything?
Does anybody else want?
Yeah, but
I am.
Okay.
I'm
I'm
going.
going.
Tara's going. Emily's going.
Chief, are you gonna go to that one?
Is it at
I am
9?
not.
6 p.m.
Okay.
to Wednesday.
I appreciate y'all.
16.
You're more welcome to.
Yeah,
Okay. Any as may arise? Okay. Would like to take this opportunity to wish you all a very Merry Christmas, and very Happy New Year. And enjoy the holidays with your family and friends, and see you back next year.
Oh, our city lunch is this Wednesday,
Yes.
noon to 2 in the community room, so please
Yes.
drop by if you can.
Yep.